very glad to have everybody here. Looking forward to going over this. So my name's David Kramer. I'm going to be talking about digital threads and what that means, kind of finding new ways of defining it and the advantages of it, because it's an old message, but it's a really important one. My background, I've been doing migrations for a long time. My company, that's what we specialize in. I've designed over 600 migrations and integrations. I've worked a lot with CAD, PDM, PLM, virtual reality, and software development. And my educational background is in mechanical engineering. So a little bit about our company, Levitek. That's the company I work for. We're what you call system agnostic. It means we work with many different ecosystems of CAD, PDM, and PLM. We focus on migrations and integrations. We implement SOLIDWORKS Manage, and we do a lot of customizations because secretly we're a software development company that can do a lot of other things. We are located up here in the Northwest, near Seattle, our headquarters in Spokane, and we have a satellite office in Pune, India. We carry a lot of expertise in different systems, including SOLIDWORKS PDM, Manage, Innovia, 3D Experience, Windchill, Aris, and Teamcenter. And our whole entire company has quite a bit of background in addition to the things listed above in converting CAD formats, virtual reality databases, and software development. In case there's a little webinar interfacing, I'm just going to skip over this because at this point I'm sure you guys already got this figured out. And let me get to the fun stuff. The thesis of this presentation is that I think, and what we think here, is that a lot of our customers and a lot of companies we work with are ignoring their data and wasting time. So a lot of the people that I work with, myself included, have an engineering background. So a lot of times I'm surrounded by the problem solvers of the company when I'm working with other companies. So I've worked with hundreds of other companies. All of us kind of have the same mission. We want to improve product quality. We want to reduce production costs. We want to eliminate inefficiencies and defects. We focus on bringing new products to market in less time. During this process, though, we experience time wasters. Those just simply come with the territory. It's to the point now that talking about a time waster is actually a waste of time. I mean, really, what can we even do about it, right? It's just the way it is. We have to attend meetings, document our work, help others understand what we're doing, find our designs, report progress, create accurate BOMs, and the list goes on and on and on. I have more here, but it would bore you to death. And it's all stuff that we kind of don't want to do. You would say it's not really value add. And once we collect all this information, then we have to push it upstream or downstream. And for many of us, that's just how it is. This is the status quo. The question that I don't know if we're asking, maybe some of you are, maybe some of you aren't, is why do we have so many distractions? Why are our processes so inefficient? Why is it difficult to find the information you need, when you need it, where you need it, and how you want to get it? I kind of think of back in my video game days, like a red alert. The engineer goes into the building and all of a sudden it can start producing more candy. And the implication is that it's our role to make things more efficient. So whose job is it to prevent us from being distracted? Whose job is it to start eliminating our time wasters? That's kind of what we do for everybody else. It's nobody's job. I mean, there might be somebody doing it. I don't think they're trained in it. What I see and what I witness in all these hundreds and hundreds of interviews with accounts and customers is no one's really engineering their company's data. And what's happened is a major gap is developed in our educational system. We have mechanical engineers, architects, civil, chemical, aero, bio, nuclear, electrical, on and on, disciplines of engineers. But there really isn't a data engineer. Some of you might be thinking, well, there's computer scientists, but that's a big difference between an engineer and a scientist. And after hundreds of interviews, at Levitek, where I do a lot of our interviewing, I can tell you a computer scientist is not a data engineer. There's not an insult. It's just they have a different mission. A data engineer can dramatically reduce the level of effort and disruption of your normal staff activity so you can get shit done. They reduce and remove time wasters by making your job easier, by making your data work for you instead of against you. They exist under many names today. They're out there. It's not like they don't exist. I'm not making this up. They call themselves solution architects, enterprise architects, or PLM architects, or even data architect. It's starting to get really close, but there's no formal architect is a title applied to somebody who doesn't probably have a formal background or a degree in being an architect. There isn't one. They're mostly self-taught. They have degrees from other disciplines, and a lot of them work for large companies because they're expensive. In this presentation, I'm going to explore the problem that our data is creating. I'm going to define a solution roadmap, and I'm going to present the benefits of addressing your data to avoid time wasters. So what slows us down the most? Significant time is spent on non-value add work. That's unexpected interruptions, manual processes, sharing information, redoing work, trying to find information, and also all of this while you're attending meetings. The one that we need to circle back on is redoing work. Errors, can't find stuff, outdated information. This one is a double-edged sword because not only did you waste time now recreating that design or whatever it is, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that later because you've created a duplicate, and now there's conversations that have to be had on which one's right, which one to update, and so on. So those are really killers. Those are 2x. So what's the impact of all these time wasters? They're kind of accepted as status quo, but they do have a significant business cost. Think about it. If we could get even back some of our time, we would be able to get our products out to market faster, at a higher quality, and at a higher profit. But who's looking out for you, right? Is it that IT's job? Is that whose job is this? So a lot of times it's kind of up to us to figure this out. The other thing is there's problems with retention and the maximization of our time and our talent. Like, if you work for a company where your processes are awful and it's to the point where you're just miserable because you don't do anything creative, which is what you want to be doing, you're going to maybe seek out a job that takes advantage of your talent more. So this is a job retention thing as well. So what can we do about it? I'm gonna be phrasing things hopefully in a new way. The first thing is, let's start creating meaningful views of our data. Let's connect our data so that we can use it in different systems and have access to that view. I gotta pop up in the way. And have access to a view of the product that is relevant to you and accurate. Typically, I'm talking about the bill of materials, right? That's the most common view we're aware of. There's a BOM view. There's the CAD BOM, the E-BOM, the M-BOM. Then let's use that connection of this data to drive information throughout the enterprise at a new speed. In other words, I'm going to frame it in my terminology: create a digital thread so you can eliminate time wasters. We propose that companies with a high-quality digital thread have fewer time wasters, are more profitable, get products to market faster, and with fewer defects. So let's see what we can do about that. Is this true, and if so, how do you get through to it? So we've created a 6-step roadmap to get this done. So where I want to start is kind of a neat story. I'm sure you've heard, this is not new. This is not the story is pretty well documented out here, but I love it. This one just captured my imagination so well. If you don't know it, I'm going to tell the story, of course. In World War II, the Royal Air Force wanted to know where to armor their planes. So they studied where the bullet holes were on the planes after they returned from missions. The theory was that they would add armor where the bullet holes were the densest. But after looking at the data, Abraham Wald, a Hungarian mathematician, he pointed out that their data was misleading. The planes that returned actually showed where the armor was not needed. And now when you look at it from this point of view, you can see that the engine, the cockpit, and a small portion of the fuselage are where you actually need to add your armor. And to me, this story relates directly to what we call enterprise data. Many, almost all companies are not looking to their data for improvement because they just don't have any. And so that's the first thing. They didn't even know where the bullet holes were in the first place. The next challenge they have is correctly interpreting the data once they start collecting it. They don't realize that incomplete, misleading data can be just as harmful as no data at all. For example, how many change orders are there? How long does an average change order take? Where are the bottlenecks in your business processes? What are your time wasters? Since there isn't any data to even record this, many people think there isn't even a problem. After doing hundreds of migrations where we design data models and we implement data all over the place, what we see is that companies don't know, and we watch as they stubbornly, they don't know what data they're missing, because we have that experience and they don't, and they stubbornly implement data models that limit instead of exploiting their data. So what's the first step in our journey here? It's, first of all, before you can even start on a digital thread roadmap or really kicking things into overdrive, agree that there's a problem. We interview our customers about their digital thread. Most of them haven't even heard of it. They don't even know what a digital thread is. In one interview, the customer finally admitted that they had no idea how to leverage the data in the systems they already had today. Basically, what he said was, when I was asking him about this, he's like, I don't even know what's going on in the systems I have today, and you're talking about integrating it. And I was like, oh, that was a light bulb moment. Another customer described how much time they spend searching for information. They just wanted a mechanism to find their data better. And in many cases, this is kind of seen as complaining or whining, but it's not. It's actually a disruptive opportunity to achieve your business goals that you could be the bottleneck of, and it's kind of a new way of looking at things. So step 2, analyze your data and your processes. Take a holistic look at who generates what data, when and why they generate it, and where they store it. Then perform the exact same process on who's the consumer of this data. Take a holistic look at your current enterprise systems and your business processes. If you don't document your business process today, you should, as they are. Don't glorify them. Identify where you're wasting time due to your data. And then start making a plan to eliminate those time wasters. Typical solutions, the most common one is to adopt or consolidate on a new PDM, PLM, ERP, MES, or CRM system. Those 5 acronyms are pretty much in the top 5 of top solutions. Consolidate. Then after you do that, then you're going to be aware of a whole bunch of other problems, and you're going to realize you might need to start cleaning up your data. And then after doing that, you realize, oh, now that this data is all aligned, why don't we link it? The vision here that I'm trying to give is that your data will work for you instead of against you if you start taking these steps. That you can start to leverage your data just like any other resource in your business, just like you might look for improvements on a manufacturing workflow or process somewhere else, or you might need to do things differently externally, or in how you're designing these things, that your data actually has the same, if not more, of an impact on your time to market and your product quality. An experienced data architect is highly recommended for this process. You really want somebody that can help you avoid the missing data problem, because until you have that experience, which you're not seeking, well, I don't know that, but until you have that experience of how other people are solving this problem, you're kind of stuck. You're stuck without any data or without knowing how to interpret it. Step 3, more and more, we're seeing customers consolidate their data into PLM, not PDM, to take advantage of the linking between items, CAD, documents, and change objects. So you can do all these different management. You can do CAD management, document management, you can do product management with BOM management, all these different things. You can do all of this within PLM. So just getting into this one new system is a fantastic start. There you can start implementing multiple BOM views. You can have your engineering BOM. You can demonstrate. You can represent your manufacturing BOMs. Once you get it into the system, then you can start cleaning it, and then start leveraging it. And we'll talk about that shortly. So what I'm talking about here usually is a migration. This is usually where you're migrating your data from 1, 2, 3. We've done 7 different source systems into one PLM system before. Other sites, we do 40 different smaller satellite systems into one PLM system. But consolidation, it's happening everywhere, and it's happening fast. Why would you do this? Just in case you need more incentive to do it, I think an unusual way of looking at it is because you need to reduce engineering change. because redoing work. Remember I mentioned that one earlier? So this graph on the chart is kind of an odd graph. Like the first item is outdated information, 54%. What this is telling you is that in 54% of the cases, companies that consolidated on PDM and PLM reduced their engineering change management processes and time. So this is talking about where they stopped doing engineering change management. 48% found that they could eliminate engineering change management workflows because they were able to find errors within engineering, all by consolidating into PDM and PLM. So by having data stored in 5 different systems, they were having to do way more change management. I'm not going to read through every single thing here. It's just an interesting way of looking at it. It's like, wait a minute. So you're saying if I consolidate into PLM, and I would emphasize PLM over PDM, if I consolidate into PLM, I don't have to do as much change management. It's like, oh, great. Everything's linked together. Your data is working for you instead of you having to go and retrieve it. Step 4. After you've consolidated, now you're going to be aware of the true problems. It's not until you've consolidated your data that the pattern of bullet holes is actually starting to show up. Up until that point, things have been pretty good, but you've been kind of making do with assumptions and traveled knowledge. But once you get to step 4, then you get all of your data in one place. You become aware of your data issues. There is no way of avoiding it now. So now you can report on it. You can feel the pain of it being wrong. You can prioritize what to fix, and you can make plans to improve your data quality. Inside of PDM or PLM, you'll find a number of tools to help you report and improve your data. You're also going to find that the reports you're creating are useless because they simply don't have the data you need. They're essentially the planes that didn't make it back. And so that's the time that you start to think, wait a minute, how do I fill in the gaps of data that I'm missing? And it's a really good idea, again, coming back to that data engineer concept. You need to start thinking, how can we get the data into this system that we need? Well, guess what? It's stored somewhere else. It's probably in your ERP system. Or maybe you have a custom homegrown system, or maybe it's stored in Excel. But if you can start to consolidate all this data onto the item, onto the part, onto the product structure, into the BOM, then all of a sudden you can start generating meaningful reports and start becoming predictive instead of reactive, which is a nice place to be. Step 5, after consolidation into PLM, you're going to be able to produce an excellent engineering BOM. If you're just relying on CAD BOMs today, and maybe your ERP system is where you create your engineering BOM, or your M BOM is your A BOM, you really want to get your engineering BOM. I highly recommend getting it into your PLM system. Then you can start relating your engineering BOM to the views in all of your other systems, especially ERP, where your M BOM is derived off of your E BOM. And as your thread matures, you can start to develop other links to other systems, resulting in a complete bill of information that has meaningful, accurate views of your product at a specific time in its life cycle. And I'm going to go through this in a future slide, but examples include your requirements, your test data, your quality data, your models, your drawings, your viewables, your attributes, related tooling, your simulation, your costing data. And we haven't even really gotten to the customer side of things yet either, because that's all coming into play too with a lot of companies. The most common method to achieve this is first with manual methods. Let's go ahead and create links manually. Let's manually re-enter our MBOM in our ERP system. But you should, if you're targeting a true digital thread, you don't want to rely on a manual method. You want to automate that. You want to integrate that data. We work a lot with a company called SimData. They do a lot of studies and presentations on the digital thread, and they're one of the leaders in the PLM community out there. They work with all the hundreds and thousands, actually, of engineering companies. And so I worked with them, and they gave us this slide. And what it does is it kind of illustrates the major parts of the life cycle in a digital thread. And now what we're starting to realize as a community is that the digital thread isn't accurate. It's actually a web. The digital thread is almost too linear on how the data is generated and consumed. A web depicts a lot more of the relationships between all the data. So we can also see here the major views of the data across the life cycle. So if you're wondering when I say life cycle, what I mean is the requirements stage, the information gathering stage, the R&D stage, and then the engineering, the design of it, the manufacturing, and finally the servicing. And now we're starting to touch into, oh yeah, there's a customer out there that's consuming your data. How's that customer data getting back to you? Oh, well, they make a phone call, they send an email, and then a bunch of people, a bunch of admins process a bunch of information. And maybe, or maybe not, the design engineer that caused the problem is informed that, yeah, the customer keeps on breaking this tube. You know, it's not efficient. Here's the actual digital web as it exists in large organizations today. So look how quickly this has grown. And what you're realizing, of course, if we all have that growth mindset, if our company and our organization is growing, you're going to outgrow your data is going to outgrow you very quickly. You might, a lot of companies right now are in a transitional period. They are having turnover. They don't have that tribal knowledge that they used to, or there's way too much information to try to relate for any one or even a small group or group of people to comprehend and relate. So for the larger companies, and who we work with at the larger scale is like Lockheed Martin, all right, BAE, General Dynamics, large medical device companies. When we work with them, they can't get anything done without having a digital thread. It's a requirement. They are the sponsors of this research going back 20 years ago. They're the reason why the digital thread exists. Their data is just too complex. However, we can all benefit from the infrastructure they've created. So step 6 is the most exciting step. This is where you get to leverage your data. So you've done a lot of work on your data. You've put in the homework. You've put in the due diligence. Once your digital thread matures, you're going to continuously reap more and more benefits from it. You'll be able to report and analyze your product development in new ways. You'll be able to drive information across your enterprise at a new speed. And here's the catch: both downstream, which you're used to, which means towards the customer, and upstream, back from the customer. Think of this as a closed loop. Right now, most loops are open. You're generating data and it's going out until eventually the product ends up in the customer's hands. You will be able to deliver meaningful, accurate bill of materials to the users in the systems when they need them, where they need them. So think about that. A BOM is a pretty big part of costing, right? Now, if you can have a closed loop, at least for our company, we rely solely on closed loop scoping. So that means that when you're costing something, if that's your business model, you don't know if you're not connected to all the systems that are going to produce it, it's very challenging to predict the cost of it. So you really have to rely on the thumb or the finger up in the wind. So some examples, these are real world cases. Closed loop data sets enable you to more accurately predict costs and delivery dates. Your staff disruptions, your time wasters, will be significantly reduced. Your time spent searching, recreating, scrapping, your time in meetings can be reduced. Believe it or not, it can. Your time in collaboration with other groups can be reduced just because the data they need is more readily available. Users with the views will gain visibility into the as planned, the as built, the as delivered BOMs. And they'll be more accurate than they ever could have been before if they're manually reconstructed. We see a lot of issues with manual data entry. You'll be able to have more visibility into your change processes and more flexibility to intercept a change process and identify that it's going the wrong way or to know that it's delayed. You can improve your product costs and reliability because you can start to loop your customer feedback back to product engineering at a rate that you weren't able to before, so you can iterate faster. And to us, the most important thing that you gain out of this is the ability to automate both human and business processes. So let me say that again. You will gain the ability to automate both human and business processes. So this is basically the idea is business process automation has been around a long time, but once you start having the data where you need it, when you need it, you can actually start automating human processes. data entry into a form, reading a PDF and putting it in somewhere else. There's so much more you can do. Once your data quality starts hitting some pretty high levels of quality, you can do quite a bit with it. So here's a recap. Our thesis is that companies that ignore their data are wasting time. The problem that we see is that poor data causes inefficiency. It prevents automation, which I just mentioned, and it actually reduces your product quality. So our solution, being data engineers, is to invest into your data, to see it as a real ROI. Now, it's hard to measure it, but it's there. And that starts by creating a digital thread. The digital thread is the foundation. If you've ever heard the phrase digital transformation, all digital transformation initiatives really is how do we get our data quality to the point where we can use it? That's a digital thread. Once you have that, you reduce your time wasters, you automate things, and you create more stuff better. So, you know, as always, we always have a bit of a plug at the end of these things. At Levitek, this is what we do. We have your data architects if you need them, data engineers, business process consultants, the PLM expertise to get you where you need to be. We can do the implementation, the migration, the integration. We have dedicated software platforms for the migration and the integration itself. We can do dashboarding and reporting in the systems you already have today. And we do a lot of really advanced work with data quality improvements. We can do it in bulk, which means all at once. We can do it discreetly, one at a time, and we can do all your extract, transform, load work. So this is kind of what we do. This is a really passionate topic for me. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Thank you guys. Bye.